What's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Manji TV. On today's episode, we've got this E9X M3 on the lift for a DCT transmission rebuild and upgrade. We're gonna be doing some SSP clutches and a new DCT pump, seals, and everything in between, speed sensor and whatnot, giving you a rundown on how to remove the transmission from the car, tear it apart, and put the new clutches in it. Should be a good time. Hopefully you guys like this type of content. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All right guys, as you can see, the DCT transmission is still intact. Everything is still in place. We're gonna go ahead and start with the exhaust here at the back. We're gonna go ahead, hit these 13mm bolts here for the rear muffler section. We've got some, I believe they're 19s or 21s there. Another 13 here to break the exhaust in two pieces. We'll remove this cross member, all the heat shields, everything up to the headers here, and then start tearing into all of the lines for the DCT, start draining the pan. We'll get the drive shaft, and then we'll drop it down, remove all the bolts from the bell housing, pull the transmission out. So let's get to it. All right guys, we've made some really good progress in not very much time. The complete exhaust is out, as you can see. We've got access to our drive shaft now, which means all the heat shields have been removed. We have our cross brace removed. We've gone ahead and removed the 6 bolts at the back of the drive shaft to remove the back end CV. We're gonna go ahead and get the 3 bolts at the front here to get the drive shaft separated from the guibo. We'll go ahead and start lowering it down, but we did go ahead, drain the transmission fluid. We pulled the pan off. We pulled the suction jet pump and the suction filter out. We also pulled the cartridge filter out of the side. We did see some particulates, some metal, nothing too crazy, but definitely maybe the clutches are kind of going bad. So we're gonna go ahead, as you should with any DCT service or pump or clutch upgrade replacement, you should change your filter. So we're gonna go ahead and put some new filters in it, a new suction jet pump, a new side cartridge filter. We'll tighten all that down, and then we'll go ahead and pull the transmission down, to which at that point we'll go ahead and replace the side seal here and the upper seal on the O-ring for the connector at the top of the transmission. And we're gonna go ahead and pull the front cover out, do the front cover seal, the oil pump, the clutches in the transmission, and put this thing back together as a brand new transmission. So let's go ahead, stop talking about it, get this thing down. We'll give you a quick peek at the transmission pan here. You can see there's some metal on the clutches there. We've got our suction jet pump, which these have an internal ball check valve essentially, and they start to wear out. There's like a little rubber seal as well. So we're just gonna change that for good measure. We're just literally doing every seal, O-ring, gasket, just to make sure this thing is good with all the new parts. We've got a brand new oil pump, brand new clutches and everything. Over here, we'll give you a quick peek at the oil pump. The brand new BMW unit here. Brand new DCT oil pump, which will be going in. We've got some gaskets and stuff as well that'll be going in the transmission here shortly. We'll be showing you the SSP clutches as well very shortly, so stay tuned. Let's get to it. All right guys, so a little trick if you're gonna be resealing the side seal here, especially if you're pulling the transmission to rebuild it like we are, is to get as many bolts as you can in the car so you can kind of pull this thing apart and let this fluid drain, because there is really quite a bit of fluid on the side of this filter. Or this cover. It's been draining for quite some time now, so you missed the brunt of it, but when we first started getting it leaking, there was a lot. It's probably a good couple corks just behind that cover, so I like to do that. We'll go ahead, put the suction filter, new suction jet pump, and the pan back on here on this lower side, as well as the side filter like I said before, and when it comes out, we'll get that side gasket completely resealed and then start working on the clutches and the pump. So nonetheless, almost there, drive shaft almost out. We are gonna start tearing into these bell housing bolts and get this thing out of the car. Here's a quick look at the new cartridge filter, new suction filter, new suction jet pump. So everything's brand new, ready to go back in the car. All right guys, the new suction filter and suction jet pump are installed. Everything's been torqued, marked. The torque for the suction jet pump is 12 Newton meters. The torque for the filter is 10. We're gonna go ahead and put the pan on. We've got the pan all nice and clean over here. All fresh, ready to be reinstalled. So we're gonna reinstall that with our nice clean new bolts. So let's go ahead and get that bad boy back in the car. All right guys, we've gone ahead and gotten all the transmission bell housing bolts out except for this one. We just left one in to make sure the transmission didn't fall out. We've got the transmission jack here on the table. As you can see here, it's hanging down a little bit already. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the rest of these bolts and bring it out. We just wanna give you a quick peek before we do that. All right guys, we got the transmission out of the car. We got to mark the cover here. There's a little arrow to remind you, but it's nice to put a little mark so that you know where it goes. You got to get the circlip out. We're gonna go ahead and do that and then pull this cover off. There's 3 holes as well that you can use to pull this cover back. All right guys, as you can see, we have our dual clutch transmission opened. You can see our clutch basket here. We're gonna be removing that in a second using our specialty tool here, which aligns all the clutch discs and allows you to turn it and remove it. It turns in a counterclockwise direction. We've got the plate here with the O-ring on it. You do need to change. As I noted before, be sure to mark it so you know where it goes when you reinstall it. We ended up using a slide hammer to get this thing removed. Works super nice. Slide hammer here, thread it in a bolt. Use this little fitting here, which is for pulling seals and stuff like that. Worked wonderfully. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get this basket removed, get these clutches swapped out for the SSP clutches. We'll show you those here in a second. We're also gonna finish regasketing this side cover. There is an O-ring for that mechatronics harness that passes through the body of the transmission here that we'll be changing the O-ring on that as well. And yeah, get her back together, get some new fluid in her, and start this bad boy up, take her for a test spin. Let you guys know how it feels. All right guys, here we have our clutch basket. You can see our tool has gone all the way in. We had to put the transmission in neutral and keep spinning it until this tool completely seated and aligned with all the clutches. You also have to continuously spin this thing counterclockwise until it basically just decides to pop off. It takes a good few turns. Once we've gotten the clutch basket out of there, we are going to change the temperature speed sensor. So this is also measuring the speed of the clutch basket, but measuring the temperature of the fluid as well. And so after doing that, it sits right here. Just want to show you guys real quick where that goes. It actually is like this in the car, and transmission like that. Sits in there to this connector. So we've disconnected it, unbolted it. That gives us access to our pump. There actually is a little inspection cover too that goes behind the clutch basket, which is over there. You want to show them that real quick? Right here we got a little inspection cover, which will show you going back in a little better. But we're gonna go ahead and take these 2 bolts out here, this bolt out here, and these couple bolts across the top and remove this pump out of the way so we can put our new DCT hydraulic pressure pump in place. So let's go ahead and get that done. Go ahead and remove our pump. We're gonna be replacing all these bolts and gaskets. It's about a $50 kit, comes with all new hardware and gaskets, so make sure to do that. All right guys, we're about to open the clutch basket here. We've gone ahead and removed the oil pump. We've also done our O-ring for our wiring harness at the top of the transmission. As you can see here, you'll see this ground wire and harness hold down have been marked with red pen, and so has this. And that's because we have to remove those after removing the speed sensor and whatnot, the pump and everything, to kind of back this whole thing out and get that gasket changed. So we've gone ahead and done that. There's also a little plastic clip down that needs to be removed. Little white tab here. Make sure to not break that. Little button here. Remove your connector. Slide this all up. Pull it out. Change your gasket. Put it all back together. Torque these bolts to 10 Newton meters, and then we'll go ahead and reinstall our pump now. But we're also at the same time gonna go ahead, open this clutch basket, open this box here from SSP with our brand new SPEC-R clutches for 900 foot-pounds rating, and get these bad boys in that clutch basket. So super stoked on it. Super stoked to see how these feel. Obviously this thing being supercharged, it really kind of needs these clutch packs, and should make the transmission feel quite aggressive as well with the GTS tune that's already on it. So let's get to it. All right guys, we've gone ahead and removed the top cover here for the clutch basket. Next you will end up pulling this lower inner basket out, and then this inner drum here piece. Be careful, as there is a little bit of pieces in here. There's a ring washer that will fall out, so you want to make sure to pay attention to that taper washer there. Next is going to be pulling these snap rings. There's 2 snap rings. It's a good idea to notate where they are and put everything back to where it was. It's possible that this thing was balanced from the factory, so we just like to put everything back to where it was. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and do one clutch pack at a time. We'll do the inners and then we'll do the outers. So let's go ahead and get these O-rings or snap rings off and get these clutches out. All right guys, we're just gonna stop here for tonight. That's it. We'll see you in the morning. All right guys, it's the next day. I went ahead and picked up this nice oil drain bucket here so that it was nice and clean. As you can see, we've got our clutches in here soaking in oil. We've got some DCT fluid in here, just soaking these clutches. They've actually been in here for probably 2 hours now. Let's go ahead and get these SSP clutches in this clutch basket and get this clutch basket back in the car. We did also install a brand new O-ring on our front cover. So that is there. Here's the old O-ring here and the old speed sensor. All right guys, so the way this clutch pack goes is going to be your transfer disc. So it's half steel, half friction disc, then a steel, then friction all the way through, as you can see. So it goes friction, steel, friction, steel, friction, steel, friction, steel, and the very last one is also a transfer plate. And so we've done the same thing with our clutches in here. We've got our piston installed. We're about to install our snap ring. As you can see, the clutches are down in there. There should barely be enough room to get your snap ring in, which there is. So we're going to go ahead and put our snap ring in for that, and then we'll start working on our secondary clutches. We'll put this basket in that goes over the primary there, and then start working on the larger secondary. So yeah, let's get to it. All right guys, we're about to install our new oil pump for the DCT, and I just wanted to note one quick thing. We've got our clutch basket together, but the thing that I wanted to note is this little tiny crush washer here. As you can see, there's the main seal there and all the hardware, but there's one extra crush washer which we are not using for this transmission. Some of them have it, some of them don't, but there will be an extra little hole here right below this kind of drilled out area, about yay. And we do not have it, but if you do, there will be a recessed location for that seal to sit, so make sure to pay attention to that and get it in if you do have it. We do not in this case, so we're going to be reinstalling our pump right now. All right guys, we've got our install tool here in place. As you can see, the clutch is in. When you get it in the car, you will turn it clockwise until it stops, and then you'll torque it to about 10 Newton meters. We've gone ahead and done that. The clutch is stopped. Everything is good. We're ready to throw this cover on. We've got our new O-ring in place, and like I said, our install tool in place. So we're gonna go ahead and slap this front cover on. As previously mentioned as well, we'll make sure to notate the arrow and line that up exactly as it was before. Yeah, that thing wasn't all the way on. Make sure your install tool is all the way on. What's nice is that thing holds it perfectly centered for you. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but if you can get it as close to where it was before, the better. You'll hear a nice pop, and you can hear now it's not hollow sounding anymore, which means it's back down all the way to the actual casing of the transmission. So we'll go ahead, go around it, make sure we hear that in all locations, and then we'll go ahead and this thing's actually gonna be kind of a tricky one, super tight fit, but we'll go ahead and get this install tool removed. Before that, we do that, we will go ahead and put our snap ring in.
All right guys, so in the last clip you saw us installing the transmission. I actually forgot to continue filming after that point, but it's really quite straightforward. Once the transmission goes in, you put all the bolts in, tighten those down. We put the drive shaft in. The front drive shaft bolts torque to 55 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. The rear drive shaft bolts 40 Newton meters plus 45 degrees, I believe. And put the heat shields in after that, put the exhaust in, and the car was done. We topped it off with some fluid. We relearned the clutches. We did the PV1, PV2 relearn, the clutch slippage point teach-in, and obviously reset the adaptations. Did the oil balancing procedure, checked it multiple times just to be sure that everything was set as it should be. Gave the car a quick wash. She's looking beautiful. We've ran it up and down the road a few times, done a few heat cycles. Everything's good to go. We'll show you that here shortly. We'll take it for a quick rip. But honestly, sorry to not film that stuff, but it's quite easy from that point forward. If you got to removing the transmission out, I think you can figure out how to put it back in. The majority of this video is about talking about those SSP clutches and how they feel in the car and the install of doing those. So anyways, let's get to driving this thing. Alright guys, we just went for a test drive. Everything's going great. Customer's super happy. Just about to leave the car. Get a quick little shot of him rolling down the street. If you like this video, be sure to check out the next one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. Thanks, and see you in the next one.